Hey there, and welcome back to another Alchemy Guide. Today we're going to be talking about scenes. Scenes are absolutely the best way you can immerse your players here within Alchemy. Creating a scene is a wonderful opportunity for you to show off where and what is happening in your world, have beautiful music playing behind it, and even have motion overlays kind of making it to where the scene is actually moving around. It's very immersive and awesome. So we're going to go in and talk about how we can create scenes here in Alchemy for your players to enjoy. So you have two different things you can do. You can either create a scene on the fly in the game, or you can create it outside of the game preemptively in a custom universe. By going over to the Scenes tab in your custom universe, you'll find Create Scene. By creating scene, you'll be brought to the modal. Here you can see that we can put in a name. So let's say custom Vaesen scene, and the location is Uppsala. And you can see here that there are a lot of different options for you. The environment visual is the background image or whatever is going to be showing across the entire screen right up front. Now I've already done a few uploads, so you can see that my assets show up and pop up first. So I'm just going to be able to select those to give my scene a background. Next thing you'll see here is the motion effect, and you can either choose from the default ones we have here or from the assets you've already uploaded. I'm going to pick the asset that I uploaded, and so on and so forth. So for music, this is going to be the background music that is playing while the scene is happening. So we're going to go with the custom music. The ambiance track is going to be basically something else that is not necessarily music, but maybe sound effects that are happening. So for instance, this is a swamp. So maybe some swamps, some frogs, some wind, maybe that sort of thing. So we'll go ahead and add that as well. What's really neat is we have encounter music, which means that if at any point your players decide to jump into combat, that music that is playing stops and instead reverts over to a soundtrack that you place here, and now your combat, whenever it starts, automatically switches over to combat music, which is really neat. You can also put encounter ambiance on, meaning that the ambiance of like the swamp can change if you have audio for that as well. You can add tags to this so that you can easily search up the scene if you end up having multiple scenes to choose from. And if you go all the way back up to the top, you'll see here the tactical portion. If you go up to tactical and click that, you'll see that you can add a map to this. So whenever you go to the tactical section within the actual game, it will pull up whatever map you have ready to go. Now I've already uploaded it to my assets, so I'm going to add it here. You can even add multiple maps to this section, which will allow you to layer different maps on top of each other. Now, currently the maps are essentially the same map, are meant to be the same map, but maybe different variations of it. So for instance, maybe a day-night cycle of the same location sort of thing. The reason being is because the fog of war doesn't necessarily change from one map to the other. So if we have two scenes that are identical, but maybe they've changed day to night scenes, it works perfectly as the fog stays exactly where you placed it. Now, if you place two completely different maps on top of each other, your second map, whenever you activate it, will still have the fog from the first one. So we recommend creating a second scene for that secondary map. Now, once you've created this and you've said, you know what, I want square or hex pointy grid types, you can also set the grid size. So for instance, if your map is less square and more rectangular, you can say 24 by 60 or something like that. Then you can also activate these notes. Now the notes show up on the bottom right, so whenever you have the scene activated, you can read from them or use them to kind of describe different parts that you aren't necessarily showing to the players. So I've already kind of copied an area of notes that I want from previous areas. And now I have a big old section of notes. Now do note that this area does accept Markdown, so you can use things like your headers and tables and links and everything like that. They all work here. Last but not least, for a scene, you can also input any NPCs preloaded into the scene. So whenever you go over to your NPCs tab within the game, you'll have these NPCs ready. Now here in Custom Universe, it pulls from your Custom Universe NPCs. So we've created this NPC over here before, and we can just add it to the scene and push OK. Now, while you're within the actual game, it will pull from any NPCs that are activated within that game. So for instance, if we're playing Vaesen and we've activated the Vaesen universe, we can add all the Vaesen NPCs to the scene. So unlike here, where in the custom universe, it's a bit limited, once you actually activate the scene in the game, you can pull any NPC into it. Now that we have all this good to go, you can preview this by clicking the top left save button here, up here. And you can see now that my scene has a bit of writing alongside of it. So this is kind of just shows you what the notes section kind of looks like. Now, here you can see a preview of what the scene looks like on the top here. Now here you'll see that you can also preview all the sounds and the music to make sure that those are all good to go if you'd like. Now that we have this all set up, we can head into a game and see how we can bring this custom scene in and or create a new one while we're in the game itself. Right, now that we're in the actual game, we can go ahead and bring our scene in. If we go over to our scene and scroll all the way down, we can hit Add Scene. When we hit Add Scene, it's going to pull up every scene that we have available to us in terms of what we've activated here for what's in this game, universe-wise. And we're going to be looking for our custom universe. Once we find our custom universe, we'll be able to find our custom scene that we created. The custom Vaesen scene is what we're looking for here. By clicking into it and clicking OK, that will activate the scene that we created in our universe. To go over to it, just right click and play. And you'll see that you have actually taken your players over to the new scene that you had created. Now everything is still there, so if you open up your audio settings, you can check out all the ambiance and music that you've implemented. So for instance, the ambiance. And of course, the music. So with that, you can check out all the different things that you've added, such as the tactical map. It should be there. Go into tactical mode. You can manipulate it just like you would any other map. And if you need to make any changes, you can right click and edit it. And of course, make those changes as necessary, just like it was in the custom universe. One thing to note is if you go over to story, that's where your notes are located that you had created for this scene. And if you right click and click notes, that's another way to bring it up. You can also move scenes around by just clicking and dragging them wherever you'd like within your little scene box here on the bottom. You can filter scenes by using those the descriptions that you've placed within the edit area of the scene. So if you scroll down, you'll see these little tags that you've added. If you have a tag and you want to search by that tag, you can do so here. If you find that a scene is a little bit too much for maybe somebody's computer, or for instance, they're having trouble loading the scene, if you just go into the scene itself, you can, if you go into the settings on your computer or whoever's computer is struggling and go into gameplay settings, you can actually affect some of these different aspects of our system to help to kind of run the scene a little bit better. So for instance, if you place a motion overlay on a background, that might be kind of messing with somebody's ability to run the scene smoothly. So all they need to do is disable this, and that will actually create a static background versus a mobile one. To find those NPCs that we had placed previously, if you go to NPCs and you're in the scene that you had brought in, you'll find your NPCs right here in the hidden section. Now, as I had stated previously, if you want to add more, you can go ahead and click that plus symbol. And again, this one will give you access to everything you have activated in your game versus just in your custom universe. If you want to check out a scene but not take your players over there just yet, you can simply right-click a scene or left-click a scene and find it here in the middle and click Preview. By previewing the scene, you will be taken over to the scene yourself as the GM, and your players will be left in the scene previously. When you are here previewing the scene, you can check out the tactical map that may be included in that scene, check out different NPCs that are within this scene as well. And once you are done with previewing the scene, making sure it's the one you want to swap to and everything like that, you can just click this X and it will revert you back to the original scene that you have your players currently sitting in. Once you're ready to go, you simply click play and that will take them over to the new scene. And that's pretty much it when it comes to scenes. So if you have anything else you'd like to ask, please do so in the comments below. And I appreciate you guys hanging out for another Alchemy Guides. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.